Hello and welcome to Stitching with Cindy Botts. Today I'm going to be talking about handles and straps. Now for me, the only difference that I feel between handles and straps really is the length. So I use the same technique and just make different lengths. So my most popular way to make a handle or a strap is to cut a 4-inch piece of material. And then when I am done, I will have a 1-inch strap or handle, okay? So I take the 4-inch piece of material and I fold the ends to the middle and I press that down. So you can make this super easy on yourself by starting with ironing the half mark. So I fold it in half, wrong sides together, and then press that down. Then I open it up and there's your pressed line, so you know right where to bring your raw edges so you get them nice and centered. Then you just fold it over and press again and you have your strap. Now I like to top stitch a 1/4 of an inch on both sides, and then a lot of times I like to do it right down the middle, the center also, to give it that little extra strength. Now another thing you're going to possibly want to do is put interfacing in here. It makes your strap stronger, gives it more stiffness so that it wears better and is a stronger strap. So you just lay your interfacing in, and if it's fusible, you can just go right ahead and iron that down before you do your pressing. Or if it's sewed down, sometimes I cheat and just lay it down and press it. Other times I go right ahead and stitch it to the 4-inch strip first. So once you have your pieces folded over, what you want to do to have a nice crisp end is to bring those right sides together and do your 1/4 inch seam here at the top. And then after you do that, you can trim it, tuck it out, and it gives you a really nice, clean, crisp edge, and then do your top stitching. Okay? And that again gives you a nice, crisp, clean, no raw edges look. And for different techniques of attaching it to your bag, you're going to want a nice, crisp look. The other way that's very easy to make the 1-inch strip is to start with a 2.5-inch piece of material and to take that 2.5-inch piece of material, fold it in half and press it. Then go ahead and stitch a 1/4 of an inch down the side of that strip of material and sew across the bottom. Okay. Then when you have that tube, you simply take a straw, a plastic straw. Now there are turning kits out on the market. I find for this a straw, nice plastic reusable straw works fine. I have some of these cleaning Q-tips that have the wood on. You could use really any kind of chopstick, something that does not have a really sharp point on it because you don't want to poke through. But this is simply at the end of your tube. Let's just take it out here a minute so you get a good look. Let's see if I can get that to push back through. So here's my tube, all nicely sewn. So I have sewn down the length at the 1/4 of an inch and across the bottom. Then you insert the straw, and this is a super cool way to flip these tubes. Now you can get little PCV, is that what it is? Pipes at the hardware store. You can get just plastic tubes like you would use for water lines and things like that at different sizes. So you just push that through. I've got it started. I'm just going to pull it off and finish pulling my tube right side out. Now, if you're like me and have been doing this for years, I've many times used the safety pin method where you clip the safety pin on and then try to weave it through. This is so much faster. I just love the tube and stick method is what I call it, but you can find turning kits out there if you want to purchase them. And again, you just need something nice and sturdy that has a good inside diameter so that the fabric will slide through. You can get different size hosing, like I said, Walmart, hardware store, those type of things. So then once you have your tube made, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to top stitch it and you're all set. Okay, and depending on how you apply it to your bag, you can just tuck this raw edge in and under, iron it down once you get it tucked under in there. Let's see if I can get it to tuck under. I might need to use my little stick or your stiletto to just tuck that under, straighten it out, just manipulate it a little bit and sew that down. Now I'd have to manipulate that a little bit more to make a nice crisp straight edge, but that's one way to do that. Okay, so there's the most basic ways that I make my straps. I usually use the fold over method that we talked about first, but the tubing is easy also. Now if you want to learn some other ways, now I'm using fabric, but if you're using fake leather or tweed or fabric over foam, there is a nice YouTube video that Lizzie Curtis does. She did it 4 years ago. It is her Easy Sew Bag Straps 7 Ways. She talks about what we just talked about, but she also goes on to fake leather and tweed and fabric over foam. And I'm not going to touch on those. I don't use those methods, but again, if you're looking for something different, and I know there is cork on the market now that people use for their purses and their totes, so you can make handles out of that also. So let's look at the next one that I want to show you, and that is using webbing. Now, some people like to use just the webbing, and you need to use a lighter or a match and just kind of melt down the edges, or you're going to have this fraying. You got to be careful when you do that, obviously not to burn yourself, but also you don't want a big glob of melted stuff on the end. So one way to get the strength of the webbing and not have to worry about the fraying is to cover it. Okay, so you can take your webbing strip and you can lay that right inside your piece of material. So here's our 4-inch piece of material that we have folded back. You can just simply lay your strap inside your piece of webbing and sew it down. Okay, you want to make sure that you get it tucked inside nicely. Just slide it right in underneath one of your folds. And then you know that it's nice and covered. So let's just do that right here a second. So I just simply tucked it under one of the folds. Okay, so here's the fold and I just tucked it underneath and folded it over again. And you have it inside securely once you top stitched it. And you can see I did stitching right down the center. Just make sure that you have a heavy duty sewing machine and a nice sharp needle to do that. But that works out well to have a nice strong strap using the webbing but without showing it and not having to worry about the fraying. All right, so that's one way to make a really strong strap. using the webbing. All right, so we'll set that aside. Now, when you go to attach your handles, there are so many different ways that you can attach handles and straps. So this is not obviously a real tote bag or purse, but hopefully it'll work for our demonstration. So this is the front, this is the lining, and you simply tuck your straps raw edges down into the seam. All right, so here's my strap. Now this is a narrower strap. I think I cut this one at 2 or 2.5, more for like a small little tote that you would have inside your purse, that type of a bag, a change purse or something like that, where you want just a little tiny strap. So you would just do the same thing, fold to the center and top stitch it down. So once that's top stitched down with right sides together, you simply place the strap at the edge. I like to go over a little bit to make sure that it's nice and secured when I do the stitching, and then you stitch it so the right sides are together. You trim this down, and then you will have it secured inside that edging, and then I fold it over, press it, and stitch it down with top stitching, and that is nice and secure. Now, if you wanted to make, oops, excuse me, turtle, we forgot to close the door. If you want to make sure it's really secure, when you insert your piece, just bring more of the end out. Excuse me, turtle. Oh my goodness, turtle, you're quite the helper today. Make sure you have more of your, oh my goodness. Come on, turtle, go find a spot. There's lots of room. Hi, just make sure you have more sticking out so that when you turn it over, you have more here, and you can top stitch again down farther. Go ahead and just top stitch down a ways. You can even make the X going across that, and that would secure too, depending if you're making like a grocery bag, something you're carrying that's heavier. All right, so that's one way to attach your bag handles to your bag. Here is another way to attach your handles to the bag. Now, this, I'm assuming, is a mock-up of a bag that has a pocket on the outside, and you simply lay the strapping, excuse me, turtle, there you go, baby girl, lay down, honey. You simply lay the strapping down the whole height of your bag, and you stitch the strap right over it, and you do it on both sides. You can do it down the center also if you want for extra security. And what you do is you hide the raw edges then when you sew the front and back of your project together. Let me just use this other little piece here. When you sew your right sides together, it will be encased in the bottom seam, those raw edges. Okay, so that's one way to attach it. The other way to attach it with a front or back pocket is you simply lay the other end, or your two ends, underneath the pocket, and let's see if I can hold this up for you. You just tuck it behind the pocket and sew it down. Okay, so you just simply sew it down. Now, what I would do is I would find my placement of my pocket and mark where that's going to be with one of your heat dissolving pens, and I'd mark it on the front or back panel, and then I would place the strap down, sew the strap down, then lay the pocket over the top and just simply top stitch the pocket down. Now sometimes the pocket will go all the way over into the seam, and again, if you've already attached your straps, just knowing where your pocket's going to lay across it so your stitching doesn't show. Now I'm using a white stitching for, you know, mock-up purposes. You'd want to use maybe an accent color stitch or a thread color that matches, or decorative stitching. Lots of different things you can do to make your bag unique. So there's a way to attach using the pockets. Now this one, I've attached my straps. Here is my strap. It's just attached to the outside fabric of the bag, and there's no raw edge showing. And to do that, I laid my strap down with a raw edge here, made a sewing line, folded it back, and making sure that this raw edge is covered, I then put another row of stitching on it. So that is where you get your row of stitching, and in the fold over, your raw edges are hidden. Okay, so that's another way to attach your handles, just to the simple outside of the bag. Now you can do that same method if you want, or this method attaches them to the outside also. You take a piece of fabric that you have either folded the raw edges in, or you've done the right sides together, sewed the outside, and then turned it right sides back out and pressed it so the raw edge isn't showing. All right, so that's what this is. This is just a rectangle. Then you would open it up, press it out, and tuck under that open edge. All right, so you just slide that out. Now you could do this with a diamond shape. You could do this with a circle shape. Just put the raw edges to the right sides together and then turn right side out and tuck out your corners and press this down to get a nice flat piece here. Okay, and then this is just the raw edge that I laid down and took my purple piece and put it over the top and did the stitching. Okay, so I would take my strap, secure the strap to the base in a nice way, maybe a line of sewing here and a line of sewing here, and then top stitch the decoration on the outside. Again, you can make these in heart shapes, lots of different variety there to make your unique individualized bag. Then another thing you can do with your handles is to create a wide handle. Now this, I used my 4-inch strap. Excuse me, turtle, lay there, honey. And I folded it over and did the tube method with it. And then what I did was I went to the iron. I folded my tube in half and pressed it. And then in the center of the tube, I stitched 1/4 inch again. And then this is the effect you get. So depending on how wide your tube is, you can have a really wide handle, but then where your hand grips, you can make it narrow in this way. So then you would just attach the bases like we talked about, either in the top seam there or with any of the other methods we talked about. Okay, so again, this is a wide handle that we've made half the width for comfort of grip. Okay, and that is just simply, again, sewing it over to half and stitching it down. All right, so that's that. Now, the other thing you can do is you can make removable handles. All right, so this is my removable handle. This end, I would excuse me, for this strap to be removable, you need a spot for it to hook onto the bag. So what I did is just made a little mini strap and sewed that on, and I tucked under my raw edge. All right, and so you want to sew that down so that you don't have any raw edges. Just tuck it underneath there. And then this would be attached to your bag in one of the ways we just talked about. And then the other end of the hardware here, you do the same thing. Okay, and I've left a little tab open there so you can see that. My goodness, Turtle, we really have to remember to close and lock, close the door so that you don't sneak in. And then you simply do that to the other side also, and you have a nice removable handle for your bag. Okay, another way you can do a removable handle is use these clips. Now, you can use, excuse me, Turtle, go on, honey, there you go. You can use a lot of different hardware that you can find in craft stores, fabric stores, hardware stores. These were actually off a dog leash, so I'm just kind of recycling for the video. And if you have a heavy bag that you're using for like your laptop or groceries, something that's going to be heavy and you really want secure, these are really heavy duty, and you can make that same little attachment and put one of these rings on. They come in different shapes. You can get circles and squares, and your hardware just hooks into it and is removable, so that if you don't want the strap, a couple of my bags have the long shoulder strap, and then they have handles also, just for that versatility. The other thing you can do if you do not want the circle or the square metal connector there, you can just make a fabric connector by making a loop with your strapping, and again, just unhooking your hooks. And that makes your strap, your shoulder strap, removable. The other thing you can do is the same concept, but make a wristlet bag and just have a small wristlet handle that's removable if you want to just have the wallety part, or you can just sew this small wristlet handle right on the bag itself, in the seam, or on the outside like we've talked about. Excuse me, Turtle, honey. Come on, people don't want to see your bottom. Go, go, go. Good girl. Hi. And then, excuse me, Turtle. Excuse me. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was the adjustable strap. Now, typically this would be hooked on the side panel of your bag, but again, it's up to you. So I have my strips here. This one is tucked into the top seam, what would be the top seam, and this one is on the bag itself. It could be tucked inside, covered like we talked about, and then using this little piece of hardware that has the 3 pieces. Let me see if I have one still in my little collection, my little drawer here to show you. So here's this little piece of hardware that has 3 parts where you weave the fabric through. Okay, and that allows you to make your strap smaller, longer. That's a very nice option. Again, these come in lots of different sizes. You can get them in plastic, you can get them in metal. And what you do is you go ahead and sew. Let's see here, where did that little piece go? What you do, I'll just take another piece of strapping here if I have a small piece. Oh, do I have a small piece? Okay, we'll just use this little piece of strapping, I guess, here. Okay, so we'll just ignore the hook at the end. In fact, why don't I just cut that off so it's not confusing. Okay, so you would just take this piece that's in the center here, and you pull it through, and you go over that center piece. Okay, let's see if I can get it to slide through there for us. Okay, so you put it through the center there, then you sew this down. Okay, you sew it down just like you would, yeah, you just sew that down here on the edges. Now, because this is strapping, you know, you need to watch for the raveling, and then you would simply take your D-ring and slide that on. And just a second, I got to remember how I did that part. That goes on, then the D-ring goes on, and so you slide the D-ring on, and there you have it. Okay, so you take, okay, sorry, I misspoke there for a second. I lost track of what I was doing. So you slide the D-ring on like that, and then you simply weave this back over what you've already weaved through. So it goes up and under this. So this is still your strap, and you go down here. Let's get that woven under. I should have picked a larger piece for this demonstration part. I don't know if I had it, one that was for this and I just lost it, or what. But you're gonna weave that back over the same strapping. Oh, this is difficult. Give me 1 second here, and we're gonna start this part again because it's just ridiculous. Let's just talk using this one, okay? So as you can see, what I did was I put it under that center part, and then I sewed it down. Where'd it go again? Oh my goodness, this part of the video is not going to be the greatest, I can tell. All right, so you can see that I went over it, I sewed it down, put on the link, the D-ring or the circle, then you bring that back up and over, under, and through, and that's what gives you the ability to adjust your strap. And I do apologize for that confusing bit. That's the part you might want to use your fast forward over, that little green confusion. All right, so by opening this up, I think we can see it. It's the one end is folded over the center and sewn down. Then the D-ring or the circle link is added. That end goes under and over and back out. And then at that strap end that you still have loose, you go over your next ring, fold it over, and sew it down. Again, I apologize for the confusion on that. I hope that last little review shows it much better. Okay, so that's how you do that part. As you can tell, I don't usually do this. I don't make a lot of adjustable straps, but that is how it's done. Okay, and then the next and last part that I wanted to show you was making a 2-color strap. And what I've done is I did the 4-inch, the fold over, and the sew down the sides, just like we talked about. And then I took another piece of material and I pressed in the edges, the raw edges, just press those into the middle. This was to be a 1-inch strip when I started, and then it's only like a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch wide when I finished after tucking in the sides. You just lay that on top of your strap and sew it down. Now in my samples I was not using interfacing, but you do want to use interfacing for the majority of these. This piece I would not use interfacing for the top, but I would use interfacing in this part. Okay, so again, I hope you enjoyed this second part of the series of making, designing, and creating unique bags. And this shows you a lot of ways that you can attach your straps, different ways to make your straps, and obviously by using different colors of fabric, different patterns, you can make some really nice unique bags. If you didn't have a chance to watch the first in the series on the body of the bag, I hope you take a few minutes and you watch that. And I do have another part of the series coming up that I'm working on, and that'll be talking about closures. And I also am gonna talk about one more way to make the body of the bag, having a color on the sides, having the sides be an additional panel that you put in, using panels for the sides of your body, for the body of your bag. So please like, please subscribe. Happy sewing. You have a great day. Bye now.